Welcome to Expert Views on ADR Ever, a podcast about simplifying the traditional African method of settling disputes or the appropriate dispute resolution ADR in a bid to attract more users to settle their disputes or conflicts with mediation, arbitration, collaborative law, restorative justice, negotiation, conciliation, and early neutral evaluation. My name is DrChinweEgbunike, postdoctoral fellow at the University of Brighton, United Kingdom, and a fellow of the American Bar Association section of Dispute Resolution. I'm delighted to welcome Professor Upasana Singh Chaturvedi to the EVA show. She is a conflict resolution professional, IMI certified mediator from the London School of Mediation, UK, and the High Court of Delhi. She is also the founder and CEO of Acln International, which is the world's premier organization working in conflict resolution. Singh is a visiting professor at the School of Law, Bennett University, and a fellow with Policy Insights, a centralized policy institute based in India, the USA, and the UK. She is a member of Insights Collaboration International Canada. Prof wears many hats, so I've left the links to her profile below. Welcome to the show, Prof.
Thank you, Shinvei. Thank you for that lovely introduction and inviting me to your podcast. My pleasure to be here.
Same here. Same. Thank you so very much for honoring the invitation. So without further ado, first question is, how far has ADR enhanced access to justice in India?
Yeah. All right. Thank you for that question, Shinvei. And if you're not able to hear me during the course of this discussion, then please let me know right away.
Sure, will do.
Yeah. So as your question goes, how far has ADR enhanced access to justice in India? So here I would take ADR as mediation because ADR has a lot of components in India. We also have Lok Adalat, that is the public court, arbitration, negotiation, conciliation, but mediation is something that we can take ahead. And access to justice, I would look at it in a two-pronged approach, where accessibility, that is, the system must be equally accessible to all, and also the result, that it must lead to results which are socially and individually just. So the question is ADR enhancing that access to justice for people? So in India, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of data to support any such claim. We do not have empirical studies. We do not have statistical reports released by central organizations. But yes, there are few mediation centers run by the government throughout different states, which have recently released the numbers. For example, New Delhi Mediation Center, as of July 2022, they claim to have a success rate of 98.2%. The Bangalore Mediation Center, it has a success rate of around 65% of cases, resolving cases, around 65%. So one can say that although we do not have a centralized mechanism informing us about the success rate of mediation centers in India, but definitely we are going in the positive direction, in the right direction. And as a person who is living in India and kind of gauge it with the environment and the society I'm living in, that the general attitude of people towards mediation is positive. People are the advocates are getting diverted to mediation. The judges are referring the matters to mediation. So yes, it is giving positive results. It is enhancing access to justice. That's why ADR is becoming popular in India.
Oh, all right. Great insights on that. Thank you so very much. So when it comes to cost and time frame, is there any measurable difference or impact on the time and cost for settling disputes under ADR compared to litigation?
Oh yeah. So when we talk about India, again, there might be a lack of data, but globally there are a lot of studies which have given us a picture where ADR is more cost effective and more time effective. Coming to Indian landscape, if I talk about how to measure the cost effectiveness and the fast track nature of mediation. So let me just take a step back and tell you that in India, we have both private and court annexed mediations. Court annex mediations are run by the Supreme Court and the government machinery in different high courts in India. And private mediations, for example, I am a private mediator. If a client comes to me, I take a venue and then we pre-decided in an agreement and we go with the mediation proceeding. So, but in a court annex mediation proceeding, there is a cap of 90 days. So if a mediation is not settled in 90 days, either you have to apply for an extension from the referral judge, or the matter will go back to court, which generally does not happen. And in 90 days, the matter gets settled. So interestingly, we do not have any cap in the regular adjudication, regular court system. So it is definitely fast track. Let me tell you an interesting fact. There is this Bangalore-based research center which came up with a study last year that at an average, a district court in India or a high court, let me tell you about high court in India, it takes around 1100 days to solve a case. So, and that results, for example, till last year, according to a research study, we had around 4.2 crore, that is around 45 million pending cases in India. So now, when we look at that kind of pendency and the kind of time taken by courts to solve a case, ADR is definitely time effective. It is definitely fast tracked. And in terms of cost, Chinwe, let me tell you that, again, the government has taken a brilliant initiative. Any court annexed mediation, if it gets settled, the litigants will get their court fee back. And it is free of cost. So this is a kind of a nudge. So I hope you appreciate the entire motivation of even the government from where it is coming. It is being pushed quite forcefully, and it's a positive landscape that we have around mediation here.
Thank you so very much. So that means that it's, of course, the advantages associated with using ADR far outweighs the advantages of using litigation when it comes to cost and time frame. In India.
Definitely. I totally say yes to it, to the matters where we can apply mediation. For example, in India, in criminal matters, we don't apply mediation.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. So even with the court annexed ADR,
no,
they don't settle.
No, but petty offenses, maybe pickpocket, check. If your check is getting bounced, you have insufficient funds in your bank account and you write a check and it ends up getting bounced, then it can go to the mediation. But any offense which is non-compoundable cannot go to mediation.
Okay. All right. Thank you so very much for that. So the next question is, we have the ACLn in the UK, the Advisory and Conciliation and Arbitration Services, and they provide free and impartial advice for employers, employees, and their representatives on employment rights, best policies and practices. Do you have something similar in India?
And for no.
So when it comes to workplace conflict, how do you handle that in India?
Yeah, so it's very, very complicated, yet interesting, Chinwe, because we don't have a workplace mediation concept in India. We don't have a mediation statute in India. There are mediation provisions sort of sprinkled in different statutes in India, but we do not have one statute which deals with it all. However, it is pending with the standing committee in the parliament, but we do not have it yet. So now when you say, let me take a step back and talk about the centralized pan-India organization that you were talking about, something like ECAS, the Advisory Council of Arbitration Service in UK. So we do not have something exactly like it, which deals with employer-employee industrial relations across industries and professions. But to a limited scope of labor disputes. We have one organization called the Central Industrial Relations Machinery.
Okay.
And also it is there is another name for it, the Central Labor Officer, Labor Commissioner.
Okay.
So he or she deals with only the industrial disputes. But when it comes to general employer-employee disputes, where the employee is a lawyer or maybe a teacher or maybe an advocate, maybe an accountant, then this organization does not help. There, obviously, you can approach the court for a breach of contract, your service contract.
Okay.
You can approach a grievance redressal committee in the organization itself. But there is no standard. There is no standard authority which you can approach in that case.
Okay. All right. Thank you so very much. So, are employees aware of ADR options in the workplace?
Now they are getting aware of it. For example, we at Accords International, we have a few private clients who sort of hire us to train their employees train their staff in mediation. So which is a good track that private sector companies are adopting in India. But in terms of awareness, I can say that generally, because the mediation bill is pending in the parliament, people have started talking about it more. The judges are talking about mediation. The lawyers are talking about mediation. The politicians, media is talking about mediation. So yes, people are getting aware about mediation. But interesting fact, around 5-7 years back, people were confusing mediation with meditation.
Okay.
So I received one registration for my training wherein the participant was looking for a meditation training, a meditation retreat.
Oh my goodness. Oh bless them.
So I had to refund and I had to console that person because he got mixed up. But that is the kind of confusion that it happens. So, but interestingly, people are coming to know about it. People are understanding what is the alternative part in this. And yes, out of court settlements are possible. Interestingly, the employers are realizing the return on investment in it. They're realizing that it is cost effective.
Effective. Okay, thank you so very much. So would I say that employees, okay, let me frame it this way. To what extent are employees aware that they can settle discrimination, bullying and harassment in the workplace?
So again, now we do not have a general statute dealing with workplace harassment, bully, or any other kind of discrimination. But for example, if it is a matter of sexual harassment and the victim is a female, so a sexual harassment done against a female employee, then we have one particular statute under which help can be sorted. It is the prevention, let me just tell you the exact name of the statute. So the Sexual Harassment at Workplace Prevention and Redressal Act.
Okay.
So I'll send it in the email if you want the name.
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, it was enacted in 2013, and if both the people involved in that sexual misbehavior, they want to go for a conciliation proceeding, then the statute talks about conciliation, not mediation.
Oh, mediation. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but if you look at the procedure, it is exactly like a mediation.
Okay.
But the victim cannot demand any monetary settlement. It has to be either public service or a written public apology or any kind of community hour, but not a monetary settlement. So you can say that it is overlapping between restorative justice and mediation.
Mediation, yeah. Thank you so very much. And some scholars have said on this show that conciliation and mediation can be used interchangeably. And so some of them, they said, well, there's no difference between the two. What do you think? Are they the same or?
In India, we look at conciliation sometimes in a double manner. For example, there is an Arbitration Act, Arbitration and Conciliation Act of 1996 that we have in India. So there, what it says that if the arbitrator feels that midway the matter can get settled, the arbitrator wears the hat of the conciliator and then get the matter settled and sign it as a conciliator.
Okay.
So there the conciliator is in a is in a position of power to make that award. But in other conciliation proceedings, the conciliator does not have any power like a mediator.
Okay.
Yeah. So when others say that it can be used interchangeably, then we have to see whether the conciliator has any power or not.
Okay.
If she does, then it cannot be mediation.
Oh, wow. Great insights. Thank you so very much for sharing that on the show. I also want to ask about arbitration because you know I'm trying to get an overview on what ADR is and what it's like in India. How about arbitration? Is it developed or you know?
Yes,
Yeah.
arbitration is quite developed. We have a central statute, the one that I just mentioned, the Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1996. There are a lot of commercial arbitrations taking place. It has become a source of income for many retired judges in India, lawyers
that's good.
I think that is why men dominate arbitration in India and female dominate mediation in India.
That's
so again,
balance.
it cannot I cannot prove it with data, but that is somehow my hunch.
Yeah, okay, thank you so very much. So what is the way forward for mass advocacy on the or awareness on the benefits of utilizing ADR in settling disputes?
Yeah, so when you say way forward, do you mean how can we increase the knowledge about workplace
the
mediation?
mass advocacy, how do we disseminate the uses, the benefits of ADR?
Oh yeah, so one of the great ways this what you are doing right now. I think this is I really like it.
Thank you so very much.
You talk
Prof.
about it. Yeah, you talk about it with different experts from all around the world. In fact, if you look at our website, we also have a similar, it's not a podcast, it's a fireside chat that I do with different experts all around the world. Maybe I'll call you there as my guest.
Thank you. I'll be honored to.
I really want to listen more about your postdoc because it's like it's such an interesting thing that you're doing a postdoc, Chinwe. So so I think coming back to your question, how can we increase the awareness and public understanding of ADR? So it is definitely through launching more trainings, launching more workshops, creating collaborative programs with different stakeholders in the industry. It's not that only the judges, lawyers, and the law students should come together and do a program. It will help no one. You have to include stakeholders from different fields. You have to invite companies, you have to invite ADR firms, you have to invite other professionals. So again, diversify. And yes, I think more professionals like us should come out and open and talk about it. That yes, ADR is an option.
Okay.
I think
Thank you so very much on that. So can you I had this question and one of my as one of my research questions during my PhD about if ADR is more popular or prevalent in the developed countries than it is in the developing countries. You know, so I want to find out what do you think about that?
I think Chinwe, this is a lovely question, great question, and thank you for asking that because it sort of borders around my research work also. I am currently writing a paper. I am currently writing a paper where I am investigating the challenges of implementing restorative justice in matters of sexual harassment in India.
Okay. Wow.
So why? Yeah, I'll share it once I'm done with you, because I think that'll relate with your research work also. So there, I am investigating what are the perspectives of different stakeholders, be it judges, be it lawyers, be it parties, family members, community members, and the police officers.
Okay.
So coming back to your question, I can say yes. In developing countries, there is a problem. The process of implementing ADR is a little less flexible in developing countries in comparison with developed.
Yeah.
And the reasons are many. I would like to highlight three reasons there.
Mm-hmm.
So number one, we can say that the legal system is not developed in developing countries. When I say legal system, legal landscape, I talk about the law, I talk about the institutions, and also enforcement.
Okay.
So, for example, in developing countries like in India, enforcement is a big issue.
Yeah.
Now, court decrees are being enforced, but people are quite worried about getting a settlement enforced in mediation.
Oh, thank you.
Will it be enforceable? So
Oh.
when you do not have that structure where you can assure people that yes, if you get a settlement out of mediation, it will be enforceable, people find it difficult to opt for mediation or any other ADR mechanism. Then another thing can be the cultural difference, the cultural setup. Yeah. Because developing countries by their nature, they are more collectivist and more hierarchical in nature. So for any conflict resolution, they would want to go for the uh, traditional setups that they have, maybe the court system, maybe the family elder, maybe even the religious leaders
as well.
But so there is a lot less trust in the individual, that the individual can sit in a mediation or an arbitration and take decision for her own benefit.
Oh.
But just see in India, for example, there is a lot of interdependence. The elders are dependent on the children. The children are dependent on the parents till a certain age. So that's why it is, in fact, there is a brilliant paper written by a professor from Tel Aviv University on introducing restorative justice amongst elderlies in Israel. So I'm going to share that. I'm going to share that.
Yeah, that would be great.
So it's a developed country, yet a more community-oriented country. That's why it is difficult there. So coming back to my second point, culture in developed countries, on the other hand, the formula for resolving a conflict is more communication-oriented. You talk it out.
Yes.
For example,
that's the same thing with Nigeria. In Nigeria as well. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Right. So,
sorry, that's not the same thing in Nigeria. That's the same thing with in the UK as well.
In the UK,
yeah, but in Nigeria, it's the opposite.
Oh, it's just like in India
with the cane and all that. Yeah.
So you're not allowed to speak in front of your elders. You're
not at all. Not at all.
Just like India, it's just like, it's quite similar, our setups. So for example, I remember a case that happened with me. I was visiting London and I saw two cars bumped into each other, and it was like a slight touch. And now coming from Delhi, I was waiting for both of them to get out, hit each other, or maybe just start calling their forefathers and reminding each other, you do not know whose son I am. I was waiting for this kind of a fight. Two gentlemen, they came out, that they saw the dent in the car and they exchanged their numbers, and they said that, all right, our insurance will take care of it. Please email me if there is any problem. And I was dead shocked, because being from Delhi, India, I was expecting an interesting fight, at least 15 minutes of entertainment.
Both of them screaming at each other.
Yeah. So, but then that led me to this inquiry that yes, cultures create a lot of difference in deciding the way we deal with conflict. In India, we would have definitely gone for a litigious process. So, and the third thing is legal awareness. In India, the access to education and information with regards to what are your options for conflict resolution is very limited. And so is the case with other developing countries. But in developed countries, the conversation is quite matured. People know about their rights from quite a young age.
Oh, thank you so very much.
Yeah.
This is educative. Like, oh my goodness, yeah. That's sort of what you just described is sort of the things that you could find in developing country like Nigeria as well. So yeah, thank you
I
so
agree
very
with you.
much.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
In fact, yeah, please go
yeah,
ahead.
carry on.
Yeah, we are recently partnering with a Nigeria-based ADR
Oh,
organization.
okay.
It's called Settlement House,
Oh,
and
okay.
they're doing some brilliant work.
Oh,
They're training their lawyers free
oh,
of charge
oh, wow.
in
That's
ADR.
awesome. That's good. Thank you so very much for sharing it on here. So final, okay. No, before I go to the final question, I think in a nutshell, can you give us the benefits and disadvantages of utilizing ADR mediation, sorry.
Yeah. So, Shinve, I would, since we do not have the advantage of time with us, I would
Yeah,
not repeat the I would
yeah,
not repeat the general advantages that
yeah,
we have for mediation, and everybody agrees with that.
yeah,
Cost effective, time effective,
yeah.
self-determination, right? So I want to talk with regards to workplace mediation, two
Okay.
benefits and two negatives.
Oh, thank
So the
you.
benefit, the benefit with regards to workplace mediation that I find is that confidentiality is very important
Mm,
for any employer. If the matter is getting settled without making a public hue and cry about it,
yeah,
then it is definitely a good thing.
yeah,
Then another thing which I would want to highlight here is that since mediation is forward looking and not past looking, it's not does not focus on past. The relationships they get healed in the
yeah,
process,
yeah,
and the general negativity, acrimonious environment in the
yeah.
organization, the productivity of the organization does not get hampered.
Hmm.
So that is the second positive that I think with regards to workplace mediation. Coming to the negatives,
Yeah,
two negatives which I find very problematic in workplace mediations, particularly in India, where the mediators are not very trained, is power imbalance.
hmm. Yeah,
Since it is the employer and the employee,
yeah,
there is a pre-decided hierarchical power imbalance between the two parties.
yeah,
And now here the mediator has to be super observant and cognizant about the fact that the employee does not get cornered or
yeah.
bullied into the settlement. So that is my one, that is what I find that it is negative about workplace mediation. Another thing is that because it is a voluntary process, it will not start unless both the parties agree. So even if the employers have a mechanism
Yeah,
there
yeah.
set up in their system, unless there is a contractual obligation on the parties, on the
Hmm.
employees and the employers to get into mediation.
Yeah,
So again, they have to take a step back and maybe put it in their contract that in the case of a dispute or conflict, we will go into mediation.
okay.
So that is the kind of negative that I find in
Oh,
workplace
thank you
mediation.
so very much. So, final question, can you tell me more about ACOTS International?
Oh, so thank you for asking that, Chinwe. Accords
Oh,
International is, I cannot say, define it in better words, but it is my baby.
that's a good
We start.
definition.
So I started it along with a few neutral friends of mine from India and abroad in the year 2020. We started thinking about it in the year 2020. We got registered in November 21, and we started working in the area of conflict resolution and dispute resolution from 2020 itself. We focus on mediation and restorative justice. So I take care of the mediation wing of Accord International. My co-founder, Akansha Marwa, she takes care of the restorative justice wing of Accord International. We are trying to innovate and formulate in newer techniques and tools of conflict resolution in India, and also to take the message of mediation and restorative justice to students, academicians, non-law background professionals, and also the government servants and everybody who is not legally allowed to get trained from a court annexed mediation training program. Because court annexed mediation training programs in India, which are cheaper, more economical, they only train lawyers. And other private organizations in India, they're very expensive. So we are trying to create a balance there where people find it more accessible. And yes, also we have a few private clients where we have a few companies who are interested in workplace mediation, who are interested in getting their employees trained. And yes, the clients, the community mediation is gearing up in India. So that's what Accord International do. We have our upcoming mediation training coming up in June. So it's a 60-hour training. We are accredited by ADR Register Amsterdam. So it's all listed on the website, the entire days and schedules listed on the website. And thank you for asking this question, Chinwe.
No, great initiative. You started out there. Awesome, especially on the mass advocacy in schools.
Yeah.
Taking ADR to the schools, which is one of my research I'm undertaking at the moment. So yeah. Awesome. Thank you so very much for your insights and perspectives and teaching, learning you've shared with us today. At least we now have an overview, comprehensive overview of ADR, particularly mediation in India. Yeah, so I'm so grateful for you coming on the show, telling us about the current state of ADR in India. Thank you.
Pleasure is all mine, Chinwe. Thank you for inviting me. It was a lovely discussion that I had with you, and I think we should have more discussions like this.
Oh, no worries.
No, I'll invite
you. Have the time. That's okay. Of course, I'll be eager to have such discussions, especially researching on ADR in developing countries. So awesome.
I think we have lots to get connect over with. Yeah.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, Chinwe. Bye-bye. Cheers. Bye.